Hi everyone, it's the interview queen Alicia Atout here, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to my interview with Nikki Jumper. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to chat with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for hopping on. I guess a good starting point with everything happening right now is how are you holding up and how are you doing with this crazy world we're in at the moment?
Wow, good question. It's been very up and down. There have been really, really good days and really, really challenging days, but I'm really focusing on the magic that can unfold during this time, just really looking inward and, finding ways to be creative.
Other than being creative, what are kind of some of the things you've been doing at home to stray away from the boredom aspect? I know a lot of people are turning to Netflix or video games. So what have been some of those vices for you to just keep sane during everything?
I've been cooking a lot. We just got a pizza oven. So
Mm.
I've been making a lot of pizza and I am becoming quite the pizza chef. I have my favorite cookbook from Roberta's Pizza in Brooklyn, and I've been making their pizza and it is so good. I've been cooking a lot. I've also been working out at my home gym, outside, going for hikes, meditating, and yeah, reading and yeah, just really doing the best that I can to, just kind of keep my energy high and feel good every day. And I've been treating that like my job. I'm like, my job is to feel good. So it's been a really interesting time. Yeah.
Pizzas are one of my favorite things to make, but I know that you've also actually been baking cakes and cooking pasta. So what are some of the better pasta dishes you've made? Because I saw an interview and you described a couple and they sounded amazing.
Oh, pasta dishes. Oh my God. I love pasta. I'm Greek, so I absolutely adore pasta. Also, my favorite pasta sauce is from Brooklyn. So I'm just like inheriting all the, I love New York. I spend as much time as I can there. I love the food. And Toronto is a really, really amazing food scene as well. Um, but yeah, I love just a classic margarita spaghetti or like a penne. Oh my God, it's all about the ingredients. It's all about the Italian Parmesan cheese that you like freshly, that you freshly grate, and just having its simplicity is so good when it comes to the classic dishes. So I love cooking. Yeah.
And I love eating, so it's a good pair. Well, we of course have to dive into your newest single, Apocalypse Love. The
Yes.
song is a love song about strength and keeping strength within yourself, but also I discovered it's about artificial intelligence. So how does one find themselves writing about these two specific topics together?
So I wrote the song with Francesco Yates, and we wrote this last summer. So we wrote this before we entered the apocalypse era that we're in right now. Um, I'm a futurist, but I'm a bit of a paranoid futurist. So I love the idea of AI. I love the idea of going to Mars. I love Elon Musk, obviously. And it's very fascinating to me everything that's happening with technology and the human body and our capabilities as humanity to like really evolve and actually like transcend where we are right now. But with that, there's also the fear of and the paranoia of a dystopian society and a dystopian world. And what I would love is if Elon Musk was the ruler of the world and we all had electric cars that and like flying cars, we could just like travel all around the world. That's my idea of a utopian society as an Aquarius. I'm like, yes, like let's do all those things. But there's also the fear, the dystopian paranoia of like, things could really hit the fan and things could get really, really bad. AI could take over. We could end up having us versus them, where we're fighting the robots. We're fighting these infinitely intelligent machines that can destroy us in like 2 seconds. So yeah, like last summer, I was really thinking about that a lot, and just kind of thinking about everything that was happening in the world at the time, and I Francesco and I, we were having, these experiences and, just kind of looking at what was happening in the world. And we were like, damn, so we kind of leaned into that paranoia a little bit when we were writing Apocalypse Love. And, we were kind of saying to each other, when the apocalypse happens, like you're the one I want to spend it with. And I thought it was, just it was a really cute concept that was also something that was, paired with something really kind of scary and, freaky. So yeah, that's kind of how that whole thing happened. It was just with our obsession with futurism and the paranoia.
How did that obsession start for you? Because I know a lot of people that actually are super intrigued by it. They're on that Elon Musk bandwagon. I remember looking at your Twitter and like every other tweet was you retweeting him. How do you kind of become so into that? Because for me, I completely understand it, but it's not necessarily something I think about all the time.
Yeah, it's funny. I usually only go on Twitter to check Elon Musk's Twitter. Um, and yeah, so it kind of started really early on. Like I grew up, with a family that was very interested in like health and nutrition and kind of like understanding what the body can do and how far we can push ourselves. And over the years, I ended up really getting into like biohacking and, using different things to achieve things that you normally could never do. And that also goes into like fitness and energy medicine and all these other things. And so it kind of was an evolution of, kind of how I was raised, how I kind of grew up, always looking for like the newest technologies. And yeah, I mean, when you look at when you start to speak to people that are in that world of like biohacking and like transhumanism and futurism, and you realize that there's being billions of dollars that are being spent on allowing humans to live to be over 200, 300 years old in the next 20 years. Like, I don't know if you knew that or not, but like,
No, that's crazy.
Google is funding this, like multiple like major companies are spending billions of dollars to basically figure out how we can be
That's insane.
immortal essentially, right? Unless you get hit by a bus or something. But there's like ways that that we can actually like transform our bodies. And kind of where it gets freaky is when you're merging technology with biology.
Yeah,
That's the truth.
that freaks me out for sure.
So for me, like I love like the nootropics and like the herbal stuff and kind of using like different supplements and things you can kind of do more naturally, to live longer, to feel better, to kind of do things that are so you're feeling better than you normally would. But when it gets into merging with machine, that's where it gets a little trippy. And I'm so curious, but I'm like, this could end up really badly. And we really, when we went into writing Apocalypse Love, we were thinking about that. I'm an Aquarius, so I love it. And then Francesco's a Virgo, and he's like, no, this is going to be like the end of the world. And I'm like, but I want the flying cars. So we kind of leaned into that paranoia in Apocalypse Love. And, at the end of the day, I think that, humanity will prevail and love will prevail over everything. That's
So
my hope.
cute. I loved how it was like so scientific and methodical, and you're like, yes, love is going to keep it all together. But it's like adorable, and I completely understand where you're coming from. It's one of those things where, as cheesy as it sounds, like love conquers all. It's if we stick together, hopefully, if something weird and crazy is thrown our way, we will be able to conquer it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, I actually want to ask you a question you asked your fans not too long ago, and that is, do we live in a simulation? Yes or no?
Oh, good question. I'm leaning more towards yes.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I really, that's one of the things that I really want to dive into and research more. Um, but I have a feeling that it's true. And I don't know, when you look at a lot of kind of like the general philosophies about like the law of attraction and using your mind to create reality, and then it's like, okay, if you're using your mind to create reality, then what's the limit on that? then it's like, what's it like? Are we just avatars? I don't know. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Avatar, right?
It's
So
one
like,
of those big box movies that I actually never saw because it was
oh,
so there was I know there was so much hype and I was like, all right, I'll wait for it to cool down, then I'll get my own opinion. Then I just never ended up coming back to it.
yeah, it's very fascinating. But yeah, I have a feeling that we do, but it's not something that I think is proven. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. That's definitely one of my things to research. Yeah.
Well, you've said before how your music gives people something to dance to or dance through to the end of the world to, and I think that's
Mhm.
like such a cute way to put it. So, what would you say is your go-to dance move when you either are on stage or you're in the recording studio?
Oh man. Well, what I really love right now, and it kind of they also tap into kind of this apocalyptic thing. So my friends in Bring Me the Horizon, they make like super heavy music, but they also are doing like electronic music, and it's kind of like dancey and upbeat, but it's also apocalyptic. So that's something that is really inspiring to me, and I think is like really fun because it's like kind of gritty and it's got that edge, but you can like still kind of dance to it. I love that. I love them. Um, yeah, I mean they're like super awesome. Obviously, I love throwing on like old school Lady Gaga. That's always a fun thing to dance to. If I'm just like, I just want to have some fun and put on some glitter and just enjoy the day. That's also a good dancey vibe for sure.
Absolutely. And you actually have some really exciting stuff going on other than the single release, which is the fact that a debut EP is expected to be released later in the year. So
Yeah.
do you still get those pre-release jitters and the anxiety when sharing new music with the world, or are you past that now?
Well, I don't really get anxiety about it because I just feel some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, and that's just the way that it is. No matter what you're doing in life, in art, you're always going to have people that love it or don't love it. So I don't think there's really anything to be anxious about. When you're putting things forward in the world. I definitely used to like kind of get nervous about things like that. Whew, my shirt was falling down. Yeah, but I definitely feel like there's really, really nothing to be worried about when you're putting yourself out there because you're gonna get both things.
I actually read something where you mentioned how when you were first starting, you had a lot of feedback from people saying, um, I feel like her voice might not have it, or I feel like the look might not be there. And they
Mm-hmm.
honestly couldn't be more wrong. But the reason I bring that up is somehow you dove deep down and were able to push through all the criticism or whatever crap people were throwing your way. And I went through that too. And then you ended up on the other side
Mm-hmm.
better for it. So how did you kind of push through that and not necessarily ignore that, but come out better for it?
It's so funny that almost feels like it's a world apart now. Like I barely even, like that wasn't even that long ago, but it's not a part of like my daily mentality anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, that was totally like what happened. Um, yeah, it was really, really challenging for a while. I had, a lot of criticism from people that I was working with. Um, and it was really hard for me to, go and create things and feel confident or comfortable about what I was doing. And a couple of things had happened. So, one, Francesco actually set me up with a studio at my house. So I was able to write and record stuff and kind of just like work on my own music on my own and kind of have my own little safe bubble of a space that I could just be creative and kind of get back into myself and, kind of discovering who I am or who I'm becoming as an artist. Yeah, so one thing, this is kind of a side note, but thinking about who I am as an artist, like if you ask that question, that's a never ending question.
Of
It's
course.
like it's all about who you're becoming and what you're creating, and it's like a constant
Layer.
evolution, right? So once I let go of that, thinking I can do whatever I want and I don't need to be held into a box of one thing, that was really powerful, powerful and empowering. And then just having a creative safe space where I could just do what I needed to do, make mistakes, discover what I really liked and what I really wanted. Um, and then Francesco and I, when we actually like sat down and we wrote Apocalypse Love, that was really, I think, like the moment where I was like, I really feel like I'm creating something that I really like right now, and it felt really good. And then we handed that song off to Phil Gornell. He is an old friend of mine. We toured when I was a photographer for Bring Me the Horizon. He was their live mix engineer. And so we passed him the song. And I was like, just do your thing. Just do your thing. I trust you. And he turned it into exactly what I had envisioned in my head of what I wanted, just for my whole sound to be like. And, has that like loud, really just like big, dirty feel to it, but it's like also kind of dancey and fun. And, that was really, I think, when it turned around for me, really, where I was like, hell yeah, like I can do this. Like this is what I'm doing now, and it felt really good. So, there was definitely a lot of time in the past where it was really hard for me, and I think just every single day, just doing a little bit more to get more confident and more comfortable, and then just collaborating with the people that just like really know what they're doing, and they are like actual friends of yours. I think there's a huge difference like when you just hire somebody and they don't give a shit about what you're doing versus just like collaborating with people that you love, and where there's like a mutual like respect and respect for the art, right, and for the vision, and like a trusting. So yeah, I think there's a lot of layers in that, but hopefully you got a little something from that.
It's lovely that even though you had those hurdles when you first started, you were able to push through them, and now you have a single out there. You're collaborating with friends. You've obviously got a lot on the no pun intended for what we just talked about, but a lot on the horizon. So congratulations with everything.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course, I want to say thank you a ton for hopping on here and taking the time to chat. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so nice.
Of course. Everybody, this has been Nikki Jumper. I am the interview queen, Alicia Toot. Be sure to check out aliciatoot.com for all exclusive interviews and features, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.